Ladipo, and Chris Kendi Wandu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. It appears there's no end to the recovery of assets looted by Nigeria's late maximum ruler, General Sani Abacha. This time, another Abacha loot has been recovered from France. President Bola Tinubu expressed appreciation to France for the return of $150 million stolen from Nigeria by General Sani Abacha. TKN, after many years.
Yes, after many years.
After many years, it could have taken somebody that, I don't know what Abacha was doing. Maybe he was trying to secure the future of Nigeria or the future of his family, but he was just amassing.
Maybe he was the man that saw tomorrow. I knew that to come to a point in Nigerian history that we need dollars. So, so he decided to keep some outside the country for Nigeria. But on a more serious note, and this goes to show the level of madness. I will use that word, madness. That's
it's not normal.
Yes, very abnormal. It takes. There must be something wrong with. They say we shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but at this particular time, we will definitely speak ill of the former head of state, because I don't know how, why, and the reason behind this kind of madness. This is just France. If you look at what has been recovered in the United Kingdom, in the United States, and then I have the question you will ask yourself: what of the one that we don't know of? Because there are some that he kept away that even Nigeria don't know, and we won't be able to recover. 150 million, this is just France. And there are some people living, even some of our politicians who were part of this, if you understand what I mean. There were some, even those in government, that were part of this and that know very, very well about this. But the fact remains that, yes, France have decided to return. But the beautiful part of it for me is that France has been specific on what this money could be. They're just not returning to us. They're going to go into discussion with the Nigerian government as to areas where this has to be channeled into. If you see what has happened in the past, we were told that some of these funds were looted and the rest of them. So what mechanism are we putting in place to make sure that those who are in charge now will not be able to reloot this very fund? But it's a good one, and we still look forward to more largesse from former head of state from the grave to Nigeria, as it were.
That's why, Totu, that saying goes that the worst form of democracy is, better than the military rule, because the system of government that would have allowed an individual, to, have access to unfettered access to common coffers and amassed so much years and years down the line. Funny islands that they will tell you that our money is hidden. After France, now you hear on one Lucerne Island, you hear I don't know what was going on that time.
I think I completely agree with you on the fact that democracy still remains the best form of government. At least there will be some level of checks and balances. I completely agree with you on that. And I think that is why it is good for Nigeria that we've had these long years of unbroken democracy. But in addition to that, I will say that African leaders should begin to learn from these experiences. We are complaining again of recolonization. It will happen through this means. For instance, this money is ours.
I don't know why you should tell us.
As much as, yes, it is good for us as a nation that they are telling us, go and put it into this, and they are putting it directly into it.
In the real sense of it,
it's disgraceful that our own money, somebody stole it, and then you now begin to say, okay, this is how you must spend your money. That's why our leaders must begin to learn very quickly. We should also, with this kind of funding, be able to gradually reduce the debts we are incurring again. Because there is no way this government is going to survive without taking some loans. But this will help us to reduce it. And then for me also, which is a challenge I've thrown a couple of times here, our civil servants, who are supposed to be the engine room of this democracy, must begin to have courage to look at leaders in the face and tell them, this can't pass under me. Because a lot of the things that we see in our budget, they are done from the very roots of the preparation of that budget. And there is no way civil servants will not be involved in the preparation. Yes, it resulted in death, but I'm sure everyone will recollect the case of the man who manned the central bank under Idi Amin and told him, we can't print more dollar. We can't. When the man went there to request that, the man died, but he made a point. And that point is, we should be able to look at dictators in the face and tell them that this is not the kind of country we want to build. There are so many things going on, so many requests, do this, we know how to share the money, even in the democracy. We should be able to empower our civil service in a way that they are able to tell our leaders that this is not the right way to go. And one of those ways, which in the last 1 week has been a very hot topic, is how to ensure that the pay of civil servants can not just take them home, but bolster their confidence to be able to ensure that they say no to things that should not be encouraged. That's the only way we can grow our country. Otherwise, bit by bit, we've seen what has happened, especially with this ICPC project monitoring. A lot of money is still going down the drain. People who collect money, who are not supposed to touch constituency project money, who collect it and use it for other purposes. We've seen a lot of that, a lot of recoveries made by the Independent Corrupt Practices and other related offenses commission. So we should use this as a learning point that this should not happen to us again. Never.
Never again.
Yes, never again. Yeah.
This kind of system, I was also wondering how Abacha was doing it.
Well,
was he getting money from the central bank, getting money from the coffers, and lodging it?
Let me
would have been doing that every other day.
Let me tell you the gospel truth. All our former leaders, and when I say all, with no kind of exception, I might not have the listening to be able to prove it, must have gone through this route. Abacha was unfortunate to have died. And that is why most of these things are being...
I don't think there's...
relax. As our military leaders, forget it.
That would have amassed like Abacha.
I'm not talking about...
Okay.
I'm not talking of the civilians.
Okay.
I'm talking of the military leaders.
Oh, okay.
If you look back, if you understand what I'm trying to say, even those before him, some that we know of, must have done worse. Some of these people, immediately they get into office, become so rich. I'm talking of the military leaders. And just as Dozu said, there was no check and balances under the military government. They were doing things at will, buying, allocating oil wells to themselves, making so much money, opening bank accounts, foreign accounts, and nobody ever dare ask. That is why I say Abacha was just unlucky to have died. If Abacha was alive...
But this kind of loot, it was also Abacha.
Listen, if Abacha had been alive till now, I will tell you that some of these things that you have been unaided will not come to play. I'm telling you.
I like the phrase. There are some.
Yes, there are some. Some of them will
still have come up.
Some of them
will still have come up, even if we were to be
Dotu, I still put it to you that there are some of our former leaders that must have done worse than Abacha. I'm telling you as a fact.
No, the fact. I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Yes, if you understand
at
what
the point in time, during the Oputa panel, there was a sitting that they said at one day the AFRC sat down and they just said, "Oh, how much is our foreign reserve in the CBN, and they just went, and everybody pensioned themselves.
That's it.
And I was like, what?
Then and that is why I repeat, yes, in as much as we are going to look at it from the point of
I was doing Abdusalam Abubakar.
Yes, we are looking at recolonization and the rest of them. It is good that most of these people are telling us where to put this money into.
Yeah,
Very German. It's because they don't trust our people. They don't trust our leaders. It is not only in Nigeria. Don't forget recently that the United States made some kind of overture with Iran, and certain money, billions of dollars, accruable to Iran that was in the US, was released to the Iranian government after that exchange of whatever, when they released the American and rest of them. Just few weeks ago, when the Israeli Hamas war started, America held on to that money again, that they are not going to release that money again for now, because they believe that if it is released, that Iran will use it to be able to fuel the war going on in. So if you know that Iran is currently the biggest backers of Hamas. So they feel that so America for now is holding. So I am happy that this is happening. Better they can be able to, the foreign countries will be able to effectively monitor, that is the word, effectively monitor what this money is going to be used in Nigeria is yet to be seen for me. But the fact remains, it is our money. Nobody should tell us how we're going to spend it. But if our people that have been up and doing what they ought to do, and being above board, nobody will look us into our eyes and tell us what to do with our money. It is our money.
All right. It's never too late to do whatever is right. The governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, has approved the immediate disbursement of 479 million naira for the payment of 2023 West African examination fees for students enrolled in public schools in the states. Now, in total, 15,033 students will benefit from the payment, which is in realization of the administration's recent pledge to provide free education from primary to secondary level in public schools. That's all. 15,000 students will benefit from this 497 million naira for the West African Examination Council examination fees.
You know, I've always been a canvasser of palliatives that are meaningful. And this is one of them, if you ask me. That's why repeatedly, after the issue of palliative came up here, I say we must look for how to affect the society, not just to put a token in the pockets of a few civil servants. I'm sure if you ask in Kogi State today how parents feel about this, their joy will know no bound. Because you can imagine taking this off. If the government is going to do a complete job, let it now even go ahead, pay for JAMB and maybe NECO. You see the mood of the society, not just for a few. Now, because this cuts across virtually everybody, whether you're a civil servant or you're a private sector person. I'm not saying we parents should put all our burden of educating our children on the government. Because even when we had free education in the Southwest in those days, parents still paid for examinations, external ones. What government did at that point was provide tables and chairs, provide books, and then you didn't pay any fee. But for your external exams, you paid. These are the kind of palliatives states should use the 2 billion naira that they have to do. It's not just to put it in the pocket of a few civil servants and think that will be all. No, I don't think that resonates with me. States should be looking for very positive and pragmatic ways of dealing with the issue of fuel subsidy removal. And in a way, also, for those who think it is in the heat of the election coming in Kogi State, I think it's fine, but it's a positive signal because there are two other states where this has not been done, and elections are holding this weekend. So whether it is politics or not, this is a good move, complete good move, if you ask me.
Ezekiel, For these 15,000 students and government paying their WAEC fee, do you see that as more impactful?
Yes, to me, it's it is. The fact is that the growing economic problem facing Nigerians now is making it very, very difficult for some parents, I will even say not some, most parents, to be able to afford sending their students to school, feeding them, and even pay examination fees. So, good enough, it is always the children of the less privileged that go to public schools in Nigeria. That should be established. Our so-called big men, bourgeois, and they don't even need to, even within our own level, quote and unquote, within our own level, ask us how many of us, when I say our own level or class, how many of us have our children in public schools? Practically, I can't remember.
Those who are in the middle class.
Yes, the middle class.
That's if we have one.
That's if I have. We no longer have middle class. What we have is the upper class and just the lower class. No longer, the middle class have been totally eroded. So for this, you'll be surprised that some people are finding it difficult to be able to raise 5,000. Anyway, I've been doing in the past 3 years, 4 years. I've been doing something, and that is looking for indigent people that I pay WAEC fee and JAM fee for. On the average, every year, through my foundation, I pay at least this JAM fee and WAEC fee of indigent students, at least an average of about 50. You will be surprised. Let me tell you one. There's a lady. I never knew. I asked for them. I don't know them. Normally, I ask around and people started. There's a particular lady that I didn't know she was a widow. When I opened up this thing, and somebody called me and said, I have one woman that her children just finished secondary school. They cannot take JAM. They are twins, a boy and a girl. And that much was JAM, about 5,000 something. Yeah. Yes. And I said, really? I said, give me her number. I called the woman up. I said, oh, God, thank you very much. In fact, that yesterday that she just borrowed money. Just the day before I called her, she just borrowed money to be able to pay for the JAM. I was so touched. I had to double what I had to give her, both for the two. And as God will have it, when the JAM result of these children came out, excellent. They were so good. So what I'm saying is that at that level, as little as 5,000, a lot of people are finding it very, very difficult. So for the Kogi governor to have done it, whether he's doing it for politics or for whatever, I don't bloody care. The fact is that he's doing it. But it is not Kogi only. Lagos State have been doing it for some time. I don't know whether they are still doing it. I know that for public schools in Lagos, there was a point that Lagos State government were paying the WAEC fee of students in the public school. This is what why some of us enjoy free education. I am a beneficiary of the Jakonde free education for 4-5 years. I never paid. My parents never paid. We are the people that are called Jakonde school children. I will tell you that during our period, we also have so many indigents. Our colleagues are so indigent that parents we wouldn't have been able to. Most of our colleagues are at top, wherever they find themselves now. Those in the bank, those in journalism, and the rest. Most of them would. Even our leaders, those that are enjoying the benefits they have, most of them, their parents couldn't pay their school fees. They enjoy the free education. All true. Why is it that they are not looking at that now? So I commend the Kogi State governor. I only hope that this will be sustained, not just for politics. Not that when he leaves tomorrow, in the next few months he will leave. I hope the person that is taking over from him will also be able to sustain it, so that so many lives will be, so that most of the insinuation that people are making now is that it's for political reasons can be eroded. If we can be able to put in some of this palliative, it was in this country that some people were telling us they were feeding our children during COVID with trillions and trillions of naira, even when the children were with us at home. Yes, trillions and trillions.
And we were the ones feeding them.
And we were the ones feeding them. They said they were feeding our children. Was that not? So I commend him. And just as I said, I hope that whoever is taking over from him will be able, whichever party, to be able to continue from.
Somebody close to me is actually started registration from the University of Lagos tomorrow, and I checked out the entire fee. For registration, for a fresher, to chemical engineering department and everything. Actually, everything's 170,000 naira. And I asked the question, why were they Why were they protesting?
I,
When I saw it, I was like,
what I've seen is that a
It's
lot of
over subsidized.
as in, because that is because this person is a first timer. So they, subsequently
it's going to come down.
pay maybe
It will go down.
80 or something. I was like,
come down.
what?
Yes,
because I've always been
it will come down.
someone who argues for fairness in the way we reason and speak. I don't see a reason why somebody who is studying law, even let's take it at the level of the arts, who is studying law, requiring so many books and tutorial, we say he wants to pay the same fees with somebody studying Yoruba or Bible knowledge. It's ridiculous. It's only in this country that will bring up all of this argument.
Mechanically.
Somebody who uses chemicals that we don't even have in this country wants to be paying 50,000 naira a year for tuition. And you expect the same thing will go to law, will go to medicine, and all the rest. Even for the sake of the future of those children, we parents should even be scared sometimes to say, are you sure they are giving you any practical lesson? Because that is the essence of going to school, not for you to just sit inside the classroom and you are told if you mix A with B, it will bring this out. And you are not able in your own lab to do it. They only show you, this is the bottle for this. This is the bottle for this. And then you mix this with this. Then you go back to your hostel. I think I fear for the nation if we continue along that path. So increasing those fees to that level of, say, 170,000 for a school like Unilag, for a fresher.
Yeah, I have this, but I have it here.
For a fresher. It's quite good. What we should be looking at is producing good graduates, quality ones, and not just churning people out with certificates. And that is why also I say I support the student loan scheme. Students should not just go there, and which is what the system is going to curb. Because if all you need in a semester is 200 naira, and you go to this loan board to go and say you want 200,000 naira, nobody will give you because you are going to bring your paper to justify it. So nobody is saying to you, come and take a loan of 2 million, because some have not even allowed that process to start. They are already speaking of repayment that they won't be able to repay. As if the money being taken is going to be in billions. That's number one. Number two, those who don't pay this kind of money when they begin to work, they are just like people who go to these cash applications to take money. Most of them knew before setting out to take it that they weren't going to repay. That's what happens. Somebody goes on to take 30,000 naira and says, I'll pay back in 1 week. And you know that you don't have any means of paying back in 1 week. Then that is already fraud from the outset. And then in that 1 week, the man who gives you the loan says it is now 65,000 naira you are going to pay me. You already knew. So when you are going for the student loan, there is no hanky-panky in it. It's straightforward. And you are going to pay what you have taken.
You know? My feeling is that we shouldn't make education elitist. Every country in the world invests so much in education. Our investment, the supplementary budget we just had security having the highest votes. That shouldn't be. In a same country, such money should be put in education. Because there's no investment you put in education that will not thrive. If you understand what I'm trying to say, most countries invest so much in education because that is your future. You see a lot of things China is doing, India is doing, other countries. It is education because they are investing in their young people. And they try as much as possible to subsidize education as much. Because the person you think, the child of the rich man you're looking at, might not be the savior of Nigeria tomorrow. Most of the children of the poor have what it takes to excel, but they don't get the opportunity. So I am of the school of thought that we should be looking at our education. Ask yourself, in the last 10 years, have we been able to meet UNESCO benchmark in terms of budget for education? The same thing with our health sector. So for me, investing so much in security is an aberration, but it's a peculiar situation we find ourselves. But we should be able to nip that in the bud and try to channel this money to other areas of development, especially education. I am a good canvasser for education. Teach a child. Send a child. Most often than not, when we were growing up, my father used to tell myself and my twin brother, he said, come, I don't have any house in Lagos. I don't have any land that I'm going to pay to you. But what I will do for both of you is to give you the best of education so that you can be able to live and be able to feed yourself. So it's just like not giving you fish, but teaching you how to fish that at any given point in time you can be able to. So I still believe that our education sector is totally mismanaged and we are not doing enough. And the government can still do more.
All right. Another Randy professor is facing the music over misdeeds on campus. The Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, has filed a criminal charge against the suspended Dean of Faculty of Law at the University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Dauphin. After conclusion of investigation, the ICPC is arraigning the lecturer on a 4-count charge bordering on sexual harassment, official corruption, and abuse of office, contrary to Section 8, Section 18, and Section 19 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000. Randy, Professor.
Alleged.
Okay, alleged, yes. It's still innocent.
Alleged.
Yes.
That's what we thought.
So, until proven guilty.
It's alleged.
Just alleged.
Okay. So the fact remains is that it's just quite unfortunate that this is happening. But it's not new. This man is just unfortunate that he was the one that this is going on in all universities in Nigeria. It has become part of our system. I just graduated from a university just 2 years ago, last year or so. And I was in the system for 4 years. And
private universities?
Yes. Private and, what are you saying? Private and public. And if you see the level of intimidation, the students are also not helping matters. Some of them are so lazy because if you're a brilliant student and you sit down to work and you read, no matter the level of intimidation that any... There have been instances in my class that someone just say, no, this is not what I'm supposed to get. He said, I'm going to write. And he went on to write, and he find out that, yes, he could have done better than the rest of them. Now, talking about this professor, this is not his first time from what we had. It's just that the students finally took the bull by the horn. Now, they were protesting that this professor have done this and that. This man was invited by the panel to come and exonerate him. He refused to appear. He did. He went on a voyage of trying to... Now, he even went and said that, at a point he said he was kidnapped. Meanwhile, he was not kidnapped. He was invited by security agencies to come and clear his name. The DSS have to now do a sting operation to arrest him. But where I got a bit worried was when a minister, a particular minister under this administration, was trying to intimidate the students and the lecturers at the University of Calabar and saying all sorts of things to be able to intimidate. But good enough, there was a viral video which she did, but I think good sense, common sense was able to prevail. The fact remains that it's not just only ICPC that should be looking into this matter. You are looking at corruption. If the fact remains that he, as alleged, was involved in that, I don't think it should only be an ICPC issue. We should go further because this man is taking his privilege of not... He was not a lecturer. Let us establish that. He was the dean of the Faculty of Law and is a professor of law. So he knows what he's doing. So, but let us also continue to leave it at the realm of allegation. But this should be investigated. And that's why I like some certain institutions. You heard what happened. You've seen what happened in Obafemi Awolowo University. That's one university after my heart. That institution, over and over again, has proven the fact that if any kind of allegation of sexual harassment, intimidation was brought against you, you will be investigated. And there's a professor that is currently in jail. I from OAU, or I think it's OAU, that is in jail. So this should be a marking point, a turning point for our lecturers who have seen that the university is just an opportunity for them to take advantage of children. I cannot send my daughter to school to go and read, and I'm paying as much as I'm paying, suffering every day. And one university lecturer is just thinking that having my daughter is a free benefit. It's part of his moratorium. No, it cannot happen. So I thank the authorities of the University of Calabar, and I hope that other universities, in some private universities, the fact that there is even an allegation is enough for them to sack you. I know certain universities, especially private universities, that is an allegation alone. Before they even start investigating you, you'll be asked to just step aside. So let's see what ICPC will come up with this, and let's see what will happen. But it still remains within the realms of allegation, and until it's proven, the man still is seen as being innocent.
That's what Asikin said earlier. A lot of students, they are victims of these lecturers, and they intimidate them, they harass them, and they fail them that if they don't play ball.
Yes, it's commonplace, and I'm sure CKN will also recollect that a female lecturer said this man inflicted same on two of her daughters.
Oh, the daughter, yes, of course. Yes.
So it's really a very bad situation, and in which you even have audio recording and all the rest. So it's bad enough that even the man was invited, he did not honor the invitation, that he had to be arrested.
A whole faculty.
Yes, a whole professor. Because if you have nothing to hide, I mean, it's just to go there and state your own side of the case, and perhaps you are released on bail, and then you come to attend to any case if there is one in court. But now he's put himself in a very difficult position. Because like you said, nobody has sent his or her daughter to school to be harassed by anybody. We know that a lot of these students too, they are lazy and looking for the easy way out. They don't want to read, they don't want to do that. But as a lecturer, who is supposed to be a father figure, like CKN said, he's not just a lecturer, he's a dean. Somebody who should be a father figure. You should be encouraging these students to read. Because that's why you have some students who graduate. You see them, they are taking first-class certificates around, but they can't do nothing. Because all they did throughout school was to sleep their way through.
Sorting.
Was to pay their way through for the men. You hear some guys, when they are going to school, they buy shirts, they buy ties, they buy shoes to go and give lecturers instead of reading. When you have graduated, nothing is wrong in you taking things to your lecturers. But the moment you are still in school, that amounts to bribery and corruption. Because that's basically what you are doing. Because you are paying, your lecturer is being paid to teach you and not to collect gifts from you in order to ensure you go through school. So I think this will be one of the cases that Nigerian lecturers should learn from. We've had a couple of them. Some have been jailed. This is still coming up. So it means we are not learning.
It happened in Unilag.
Unilag.
The one that lectured that raped.
OAU. You have them there. So we should get to a point where, as people put in charge of these students, we should be responsible enough and ensure that instead of encouraging them to go this route of paying with their bodies, paying cash, we make them to sit down. We've always said we want to produce the best from our schools. That's why some of us, we're always in support of government-owned institutions at that level, because we believe that they get the best. Not even from, because a lot of these private institutions are only after the money. Most of them are after the money and not the quality that they. So if we believe in you as a federal university and this is happening, then it's a disappointment.
How do we protect our children, isolate our students from this?
The university first will have to give an enabling environment for students to be able to ventilate and report such misbehavior by lecturers.
Without being victimized.
Without being victimized. Because the part of the problem is the system. An average, that is one. There's the society itself. Even our society, it's social media that is bringing to the fore most of the issues of rape and this thing of women. It has been happening in the past. And because of the stigmatization that goes with it,
Quite.
Most of these ladies keep quiet. They don't want to talk about it. Even the students. As Dr. rightly said, one of the female lecturers in the same university came out to say, she was a professor, I think she's a professor.
Yes, she's a professor too, from another university, Akwa Ibom State.
Yes, Akwa Ibom, and said that this man had raped or whatever to my daughters. That, well, has to be proved. But we have to be able to allow this, because most of them feel afraid. They get afraid. Oh, and you know the way they do it. Let me tell you the way most of these lecturers do it. And it didn't start today. Right from when we were in the university, not just recently. Most often than not, a lecturer that is in the art of talking to you and toasting you and wanting you at, and you refuse and the rest of it, most often than not will not pay you in his course. What they do is that they use their friends, because it's like a clique. They use their friends. Yes, a cartel. They use their friend, who is also your lecturer, to fail you, so that he cannot be linked to him. Yes, they do it. We know what they are doing, most of them. Although some are very, very pragmatic, that they remain that, oh, you fail. If you don't do this, you fail. There have been so many. So the university authorities should be able to give that opportunity to. Now, it could also be unanimous. You don't need to be able to disclose your name. You provide an email and say, okay, if they have anything, send to this email. Just make sure that whatever you are sending is the truth and not the way. And the authorities should be able to take it. Then you now ask yourself, what is the place of student affairs? In university, we used to have dean of student affairs. I don't know whether they still. They used to have
without dean of student affairs.
They used to have deans of student. What is the job
of? It's like University of Lagos. They suspended the student union.
You see?
Student union.
Yeah, that is one. Then the next one is also the student union. Part of those that raised this issue, we are the Law Students Association of this institution. It was the Law Students Association. Probably because of the nature of law students. When I was in school, we used to have what we call mock trials, just like your normal court. So an average law student is bred in a way and manner that even while you're in school, still you're almost looking at yourself as a lawyer.
Fired up.
Yes, we have judges in our law faculty. In law society, we have judges. We have judges. Quote unquote. Yes, we have judges. We have the chief judge. In my days, we had chief judge. We have various judges. Judge 1, 2, just as we have in normal court. Judge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Such issues can be brought up.
Simulation.
Yes, a kind of simulation and rest. But the fact is that the schools must be able to give, and I give it to the vice chancellor of the University of Calabar. She's a woman. Mm-hmm. So, if you understand what I mean, she's a woman. So you can imagine that such issue will be very dear to her, because I was watching on one of the national TV some few weeks back, where she was talking how passionate she is about this issue of intimidation and harassment of female students, and that she's going to do everything humanly possible. But it goes beyond that. Then, thirdly, we must have enabling laws. We must have enabling laws to be able to look at most of these lecturers in the face and make sure that anyone that is found, I know that there have been some laws to this, but we can be able to start enforcing it and making sure that any lecturer that is caught that is doing this surely face the music. Maybe we'll start with Professor Cyril in the universities. But it's just unfortunate that before you become a professor in a university, you must have said not less than close to 20 to 25 years. So why will a man just throw that out of the window just because of what is under a small girl's skirt? That is quite unfortunate. And as I said, let me repeat, it is still alleged until it is proven by the court.
All right. The Borno State Governor, Professor Babagana Zulum, knows where the shoe pinches as far as Boko Haram insurgency is concerned. So when he raised an alarm, it's better be taken seriously. Professor Zulum has warned that Boko Haram insurgency is threatening to consume Nigeria if the humanitarian crisis in the northeast is not contained. The governor noted that the continuous existence of IDP camps in local government areas of the state is a potential time bomb, as they serve as recruitment ground for Boko Haram and ISWAP. Now, since this crisis started in 2009, we've had a situation whereby we have IDP camps littered all over the northeast. They come to feed them morning, afternoon, night. Young men, young ladies doing nothing. And Professor Zulum is saying that, look, this idleness might just lead to these guys, being recruited by this sect.
Yeah. It's very, 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 very right. It's happened before. We've seen Boko Haram infiltrate IDP camps in Borno State. It's not something new, and the alarm is good for us now. that the military is degrading that sect. It's good for us that this alarm is coming now. We've had cases of drugs being sold in IDP camps. We've had cases of prostitution, very well pronounced. We've had cases of those...
Look at young ladies.
Yeah, very young. Giving birth. Because those who are even supposed to share the food they are supposed to consume, taking part of it away, in fact, the larger part of it, leaving them hungry, and for them to go begging. These are not very nice indicators for those who are there. And that's why, for me, every time I hear that the governor has gone to a certain town to reestablish them there, ensure that the farmers return to the farm, gives them farm implements, makes money available, and then gives them food to last them for a period, I'm always very happy. Because the moment you don't take them away from where they are idle, it's a common saying, the idle land is the devil's workshop. That's what is going to happen. Somebody who is hungry can do anything at any point in time. That's why some time ago, even the one that was brought out from the den of Boko Haram says, please, let me return to my husband. I prefer life out there. Because obviously, they get to eat. They get to do so many things there. So, the governor has given us a hint now. What the federal government needs to do is to step in. We should not just leave it at the level of aid coming from the UN, coming from the Food and Agriculture Organization. There should be something deliberate.
There's peace.
Yes,
so that people can go back
to their homeland.
Start farming, start doing their businesses.
Be able to do their businesses, because that's key. Without that, and you are still putting them in one place where they don't have access to it, quality food, quality healthcare, education, then it's still a breeding ground for would-be terrorists.
So again, this is like a keg of gunpowder waiting to explode.
It is. The situation in the Northeast is terrible, to say the least. At the point we have over 3.5 million Nigerians in IDP camps. This is not a country in war or under war, quote unquote, because you see IDP camps in many countries of the world. So we are like what is happening between Hamas and Israel now. You see a lot of them going to IDP camps, going to schools where they can be protected, hospitals and the rest of them, although some of them are still being killed and bombed. But this is a problem that we ordinarily will be able to solve. Now, according to the governor, we presently have over 1 million people still in ID camp in the Northeast alone. We are not talking, because when you say IDP camps, it's not only in the Northeast. The IDP camps, even in Edo states, in some states, there are. Benue, Nasarawa,
all over.
you know, Nasarawa, Zamfara, Sokoto.
Everywhere.
That is just one point. We're already having the issue of Amajeri, which is a problem in Eastern. If you've been to the north and see the problem that the Amajeri system is causing, you know that this is a fertile ground for any terrorist to be able to. Because you see these children just wake up in the morning and carry plates and moving around, asking for arms and asking for food. These are young minds. And anybody can be able to play on their minds and be able to. So what the governor is saying is absolutely true. But the question you ask yourself is, if you say you are going to dismantle the IDP camps, is their home safe? Is their villages safe? Is most of their towns safe? Because there have been instances where some of them were asked to go back to their villages, and they were attacked and killed. And that in itself becomes a problem. So it's a multifaceted issue that both the federal government and the state government should be able to look at. And you come to realize that I was in Bama. I was in Bama in Borno State about 3 years ago, as part of some editors that were put together by the Nigerian Army to go and look at some of the IDP camps. What I saw in Borno was I couldn't believe it. Even those of us as journalists, maybe we came down to boss. If you see how the children and the women and everything rushed, or thinking that we came with palliatives and food, and you could see how they were staying. Now, you are talking about prostitution. Most of them, women are engaging in prostitution there because they don't have any means of surviving. So they believe in doing that, they can be able to get certain things. The men that practically have nothing to do, what would they do in the night? That are going around and doing what they are not to do. So it is a problem, and the population growth is going by the day. If you see the number of pregnant women that I saw at the camp, AY, if you saw the number of pregnant women I saw at the camp, I was shocked. So it is a big problem, and most importantly, just as the governor said, it is now a breeding ground for Boko Haram, ISWAP, to be able to recruit these children. Some of them, they just pay them in, they give them some of them, they give them dollars. From what I heard, they give them $20, $30. For an average man that have not seen 10,000 naira in a month, and somebody decides to give you $20 and whatever to recruit others. Then they're also using them as informants. Boko Haram and this one are using most of these children as informants, because you come to ask yourself, how come that a military convoy is moving? How did Boko Haram get to know that a military convoy is moving? How did they know that the police are moving and the rest of them? So I think it's something we should take up. The governor is doing his best, because even if you go to Borno State, despite the challenges, security challenges that Borno State is having, the level of development in Borno State, you cannot compare it to some of the states that even don't have any security challenges. It's so amazing. So the federal government should be able to put hands together and be able to see. Good enough, we have new chief of defense chiefs and the rest of them, and they have been meeting. And we have to be able to make sure that the issue of the ID camp is solved once and for all, or else then we are running a big problem, because these children in the next few months and years will become what we cannot be able to contain.
Since this has been identified, and poverty is a major player here, so the terrorists, the recruits are people, they pay them, the recruits are young men, young women, they pay them, and then their lot is not even better in that camp. They don't feel secure because they are shortchanged by people that are meant to be serving.
There is so much money in terrorism. That's what we have discovered. Because if there isn't money, you can't fund that kind of campaign with those kind of caliber of weapons that we see. You can't. It means there is so much money. If you recollect, there was an attack on my Mali barracks in Maiduguri, and they said during that attack, there were even videos of these people sharing dollar to those who came to carry out the attack. There were videos showing it, meaning that they are empowered. And with a country like ours, where we have shortage of security personnel, in the sense of this ongoing campaign against the terrorists, because if we are at war, we may not necessarily need so much more than we have now. And then with the economy not looking up, which is the reason a lot of money is going into security, then government must do something quickly. Because it's a time bomb, like the governor said. If we don't engage these youths, especially, even the old ones, sometimes when my children come to me during holiday, after staying home for a few days, and they say they are bored, I will ask them, but you have TV to watch. You have something to play with. They say they are bored. So you can now imagine somebody you have kept in a... You can now imagine somebody you have kept in a place for months, just to wake up, go to one place, spread out a plate, collect food, go and eat, sleep, wake up, go the same routine. You know, for a very long time, and then he sees freedom to go and do something. That person will take it. That person will take it. That's why we must be very, very careful.
Yes, and this is where a ministry like Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs come to play. I know that most often than not, we'll be talking about this issue of palliatives or no palliatives. There are places we need to channel these palliatives to. There are more that we need them the most. The IDP camps should be, for me, one of the major priorities for us.
You're right.
I'm telling you, it should be.
Right.
We are voting, we're talking about giving people 50,000, giving them 100,000. Some of these people are not the challenges we are facing. And I'm telling you for free. Those are not the challenges. An average man can be able to find his way around. But for somebody that is targeted, for people that are very vulnerable, especially those in the IDP camp, it's a big problem. Because you cannot be able to tell somebody that have not been fed for about 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and he sees the opportunity and he will not seize it. So I am using this opportunity to call on the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Mrs. Edu, to be able to look at this, to be able to look at this area. I think that is part of why that ministry was created. And standing alone. It wasn't like this before. Let us channel most of it. I should see some kind of connect between that ministry now and the governor of Borno State and even other governors in the northeast and the northwest, where most of these ID camps are located.
Yeah. All right, we'll take this break. When we come back, we conclude with the second half of Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be right back after this breather. Thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout. I have Chris Kende Wandu and Dotun Oladipo with me. It's the second half, Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Now, efforts by the federal government to support the Naira are yielding results following clearing of the backlog of dollar obligation amounting to $7 billion by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. The value of the Naira against the dollar rose sharply on Friday as it is exchanged below 1,000 Naira in the parallel market. This is the first time in more than a month that the Naira would gain remarkable strength since the exchange above 1,000 Naira. From 1,150 in the parallel market on Thursday, the Naira exchanged for 950 to $1 on Friday, gaining over 200. 200. Now, we just this exchange rate. We pray that this administration will be able to get it right, because it has affected so many things, and it's not something that is good for this free flow. You wake up today, it's above 1,000. Tomorrow, it's below. So when this sector gets a kind of stability?
I believe the government, when it said it will get the value of the Naira to 650 to $1, in December. But at the same time, I'm not very sure that the process we're adopting now will be sustainable. What we have done basically has been to pay the backlog of what we are owing. In the first place, we shouldn't even be owing if the economy was running well. So it means we are still going to look for more money to ensure that we keep matching the dollar at every point. I'm happy because some of us also do our businesses in dollar. Those of us who are online. A lot of it now, the Naira MasterCard or Naira Valve card or any other Naira card is no longer an acceptable means of payment. You must be holding your dollar card. So meaning that if you're unable to generate dollar from a dollar-paying company, then it means you must take your Naira to go and exchange and put in dollar. So that's why the cost of goods and services will keep going up. What we need to do, and which the government is doing, and I'm happy about, because sometime ago on this program, we asked the government official, what are the immediate, the short-term, the medium-term, and long-term objectives of this government in getting the economy running? I was happy about 2 weeks ago, the first set of compressed natural gas buses were delivered to the villa. Another state has started its own vehicle plants for the CNG. These are positive moves that can begin to help us to spend less dollar within our system. I'm hopeful, like the government promised, that Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream. It's not an indication, like they have said, that the cost of petrol will come down, but at least we will not be using dollar to import. Another refinery is going to come on stream by the first quarter of next year. So, in the long run, what this translates to is that some of the industries that have gone down, because we are not refining crude in this country, they are likely to come back up. It is also likely that in this process, the cost of doing business will come down. It is also likely that in getting the gas end of the oil and gas sector right, the cost of doing business will come down, because instead of using diesel and petrol to fire our engines, gas, which is cheaper, will be the alternative means, which is good for us. It will also mean that the electricity generating companies will be able to do better, though we are still talking about the means of distribution. But at least if we're able to get gas to at least produce first, to generate the electricity, then we can now begin to worry about the distribution, which is good. These are very positive signs. These are very positive signs. But we should not let them slip from our fingers. We've had governments at the federal, at the state levels, who have promised us different things. But when it comes to actual implementation, they've always fallen short. And that's why we have come from about 20 years ago of 100 naira to $1 to where we are today. If we don't stay and stridently true on these fruits that are budding, that are in the process of becoming ripe, if we don't stay on it, we are going to go back to where we are, or even worse. So for me, it's a matter of doing those things that are positive and staying with it. We are complaining as Nigerians, but I am sure that if the government gives us the picture, the very picture of how it wants to move from this point to another that does not involve frivolities, like the distraction that came last week about the presidential yacht, if it can paint that picture to Nigerians that we are all in this, you know, we are all in this. We can see from the lawmakers that instead of saying, okay, buy me 160 million naira Jeep because Nigerian roads are not good, there are armed robbers on the way, and you have a convoy of, as a legislator, you have a convoy of about 4-6 vehicles, that when you put the amount together, you are looking at about 500 million. If we can begin to see a better picture, Nigerians are not difficult people. We can sit together and begin to say, okay, this is getting better. Now, there seems to be light at the end of this tunnel for the naira against the dollar.
Again, our attitude generally is what we are looking at here. As in, yes, the government can have short-time measures to stabilize the naira against the dollar. Yeah. On the long run, we don't manufacture, we don't export enough. The manufacturing sector is in comatose, as in, I don't know. I can't count 10 things readily that we manufacture and we export. Everything we consume must, 90-something% of it, if not 100%, most times foreign.
Yes.
So how do you find stability for the naira to the dollar?
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. As Dr. Riley said, we have short-term, medium-term, and long-term solutions to some of these issues. But as you rightly said, we have to start exporting more and importing less. That is pure and simple arithmetic economics. When we are depending on practically on one monoproduct, just oil, then we're going to run into trouble. Even the oil that we are exporting, the crude oil, we are not meeting our quota. We are not meeting our quota. Our quota is about 1.6 million barrel crude oil per day. At the last time I had, we are just making about, we are hovering between 1.1 and 1.15, which means that we are not even meeting our OPEC quota. You will also look at the losses in terms of stolen crude. That is also not helping at all. Because for every single crude that is stolen, that is $1 or 1 cent less in terms of revenue to Nigeria. Less borrowing. We've become a country that believes so much in borrowing. Why? There's nothing wrong in borrowing. There's no country in the world that doesn't borrow. But the problem is that, what do you borrow for? Most countries borrow for capital projects, so that in the long run,
for consumption,
they will be able to turn it around and be able to use that to pay back the debts they're paying. But our own is for consumption, payment of salaries, be able to take care of public office holders, buying 160 million naira worth of SUVs and the rest of them.
For one person.
For one person. That is not what it is. We've become a laughing stock among the Community of Nations. So what we can, short term is what they are doing, but will they be able to, is this sustainable in the long term? The issue is that we must try as much as possible to look at other areas where we can be able to make money. Good enough, this government have come up with a ministry of state, a ministry for gas. Why there's so much money to be made in gas? If you know how much the LNG, we have one of the purest gas in the world. Our gas is so sought after. But what is happening is that we are not even doing enough to be able to harness this and even export. If you go to the Niger Delta and see the number of gases that has been flared every day by these oil producing companies, then you know that we have a problem. Agriculture, what are we doing? We've dropped the ball. Ewa, do you know that we import Gari from China?
That's not good enough.
Do you know that we import palm oil from Malaysia? Palm oil in my village in Obo, in Imo State. In fact, when I was growing up, part of the things that I learned as a child is how to make palm oil. It is one of the things that my locality, Obo, in Imo State, that is not, I can make palm oil. In those days, you used to hear Ada Palm. You used to hear the one in Ibini, all those palm. Where are they today? Palm oil is selling more than, it is more expensive than petroleum, than crude oil. Gold, we have it in abundance. Just, even Oshu here. But what are we doing? We are seeing some people racketing and going around, and which is why I was very, very happy when the president put somebody like Mr. Adeleke in charge of that ministry. Some of us say, how can Egbon that we know that is going to be a media person? But the president must have seen something in him.
Yeah.
I think that he should be given all the necessary powers to be able to do his job so that we can be able to tap from that. Then you also look at information technology. Some countries make China, India, make so much money from information technology. Instead of channeling our effort and making sure that our youth are using this for positive, what are they doing? They are using it for Yahoo. And all sorts of so those are the areas that if we're able to harness these areas and we start exporting, for goodness sake, nobody will tell you that the naira to the dollar. But if we continue using what we are doing now, let us borrow some. At the point they say we're going to pay $5 million, or is it $5 billion, or get from some. That is just a short term. Let us try to look at areas where we can. But we cannot be able to do this if we don't solve the problem of power. Our SMEs have practically died. So until we solve some of these issues, then we're going to have problems. This is just a shock of why you'll be shocked that tomorrow it will go back to another 1,200.
Your long-term solution.
Well, we should start manufacturing. That's the only way, because if we don't export to earn dollar, there is nothing we are going to put in our external reserve to be able to help us to defend our currency. That's why we are looking for money. At some point, we used to hear some years back, we had $40-something billion in now. We even try to run away from it when we are talking about it during the Federation Account Allocation Committee meetings, because it's nothing to be proud of. Whereas others are talking in trillions, we can't not even speak in billions. So the long term is for us to be self-sufficient in terms of what we use in this country, not to be bringing in toothpick from Malaysia, to be bringing in pencil from India to use in our country. We have Iwokwe, but every newspaper in Nigeria uses imported newsprints. We have so many mills in Nigeria, but they are not producing. The only one of the car assembling plants, GAC, that just came on stream is in Lagos here. We should patronize it. Innocent is in the southeast. It's in, we should patronize it. We shouldn't go for it is solid. It is rock solid. That is where we start from, by consuming what we produce. It's not just about Gari alone, because they will tell us if we consume local rice. Those are cheap things. When you go and buy one car for 160 million because it is imported, then you have put pressure on your currency. When you can get it from a better one from GAC for less.
It's assembled.
You know, just because it's assembled. Now think of what will happen when Ajakuta starts working and we can. I was shocked when I saw a documentary on Emirates. When I flew it, they assemble in South Africa. So in the process of assembling, South Africa will provide wires, will provide the leather seats and all the rest. They bring in all the engines and all the parts. They couple there, but the small things like rug in the aircraft and all the rest, South Africa puts it in.
Create more jobs.
Yeah.
South Africa.
So if you don't get to the point, like CKN said, where power is in abundance, and we can do all of these things and create our own economy. We have the manpower. We are not short of that. That's why it's easier when Nigerians go abroad. They go and find jobs easily that even their own citizens don't do because they know we are rugged. We can handle tough times. So we need to just put our economy in shape and be an exporting nation, not just one importing.
All right. Peace has returned to River States following the intervention. The state governor, Similai Fubara, has expressed profound gratitude to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his fatherly intervention in the political crisis that rocked the state recently. Governor Fubara said the president's mediation facilitated the timely resolution of the political crisis. Meanwhile, leaders of the Niger Delta have paid a solidarity visit to the Minister of FCT, that's Nyesom Wike, for further reconciliation between him and Governor Fubara. The 60-man member delegation of prominent Niger Delta leaders condemned the attempt by the State House of Assembly to impeach the governor on frivolous grounds. I don't see, this is not, definitely not an end to this crisis. Something keeps telling me.
Yeah, no, you're a prophet. I know you're a prophet. It's just that you've not been predicting to me. For me. Anyway, this is Act 1, Scene 1, as we say in literature. This is just the beginning. I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but
People say it's too early.
it's too early. It's less than 6 months.
No,
It is less than 6 months.
I have like 4 years to go.
What we are saying is the piece of the graveyard in River State, because the gladiators in the crisis, as it were, quote unquote, have not shielded that guy. All they are doing, oh, the president has spoken to us, we are going to someone. But let us start from this. There is nothing wrong in godfatherism. It is part of politics across the globe. In the US, in the United AY, there are certain people that, let me give you a classical example. Someone like Joe Biden. You say that Obama is, quote and unquote, to a large extent, a kind of a godfather to Joe Biden. He was one that picked Joe Biden as a vice president, and they worked together. And when he wanted to run for presidency, he supported him, and he won. And there have been so many other instances. But the question is that the way we play godfatherism in Nigeria, is it the way that is played? There's a saying in my place, in my local palace, that, why? If you give me a goat, if you dash me, if you give me a goat, you know it has a rope. If you give me the goat, and you are holding on to the rope, you have not given me the goat. If you give me that goat,
Carry it on your neck.
yes. When it's still,
Just cut the rope. Carry it over your neck.
that is what they are trying to do, to cut the rope. But if you give me that goat, you must leave the rope with me to go home with it.
Even in our own balance, we have it too.
So when you give it, but the problem is, we have seen it happen in the past. There are classical examples. In Abia State, Oji Uzokalu was the godfather to T.A. Oji. We saw how it ended. In Kanu, Wakwaso Ganduje. In Enugu, there was one Chimoro Kennaman, Ebano, and Sullivan Chime. In fact, close here, Edo State, Obaseki and Adams Oshome. There have been so many. In fact, let's take it a bit back. Have you forgotten the strong man of Ibadan politics? And Ladoja. And Lamida Dedibu. The problem here is that most often than not, and I'm happy with what is happening. You know why I'm happy? Our leaders, especially the so-called government, they always go out to look for who they think they can be able to use to manipulate.
Somebody pliant.
Somebody they can be able to. Then you forget that the heart of man is something you cannot predict, as said by the Bible. Now, let us come back to the issue of, the fact is that it's the same Governor Nyesom Wike that it says he does not believe in godfatherism. That once he leaves, that hands off, he will allow the government. What has gone wrong? How many days have this man been the governor of River State that you have started having issue with? I think it is high time that our leaders look at themselves. Once you have appointed, you've asked somebody. It happened in Even in Akwa Ibom, you've forgotten the Senate President, Akpabio, and Odom Emmanuel, who he brought from one of the banks. And at the point, the young man said, Oga, that's what we call bomb boy. They say, bomb boy, my place, they call bomb boy. Somebody will ask, which day will bomb boy become a man? For you to support, there's nothing supporting somebody becoming a governor or whatever. But once he has gotten the office, his responsibility is to the people. His allegiance is to the people and not to the man that so-called man that's brought him and say. And that is what is happening in River. It is too early in the day, but the minister should be able to watch it. He should allow his godson to deliver. He did when he was governor. Nobody pretended over what he did. And for 8 years, we saw how he delivered in River State. But that does not necessarily mean that even the godsons should not be able to look at their godfathers and look at areas of cooperation. But that does not necessarily mean that our so-called godfathers must always push it down the neck of the people that they have so much given us to be able to. The issue in River State is too early in a day for us to be having this kind of issues.
A lot of people will ask the question, what was Governor Fubara, what was he thinking when he he accepted to be the governor and he rode on the back of some wicked structure? He did everything that, was he expecting, things to be rosy?
Well, it's the usual pattern of let me become governor first. When I'm on the seat,
yes,
I can become my own man.
When we get to the river, we'll cross it.
That's it's a classic example of what has happened. I like what the senior pastor of Daystar Christian Center, Sam Adeyemi, said. He said, our leaders, they leave office, but they don't leave office. Because in the real sense of it, that is what is happening with Wike. He has left office, but he has not left it. Because what is he claiming? He says Fubara is changing his structure.
Political structure, should not tamper with it.
You shouldn't tamper with it. How do you have a sitting governor who will not have a political structure of his own?
This one claimed to have purchased the forms for everybody.
Yes, he could have.
Senate, House of Assembly.
Yes.
That everybody should come out if you pay for your ticket.
That was his decision.
Was it his money?
That was his decision.
No,
and that money...
was it his money? Let us ask. When he said, I purchased, was it Nyesowi's money that he used? Then what you're looking at, because most of it are not. It's a fact. Because you need to question that. When he said, I purchased the form for this, for every senator, for every house, was it Nyesowi's money? Was it not River State government money? We should be very, very careful. When some of this, sorry for
no.
But that is the fact, because let us be very careful. This Nyesowi, you need to have a godfather. You've forgotten that Nyesowi was working with Amici
for so many years.
For so many years, have you forgotten?
As local government chairman,
as his chief of staff.
So somebody made him.
This somebody make Nyesowi, and when they start, before you know it, it started having issues.
Somebody made him too.
Somebody made him. How did he become a minister?
We should be clear about that. See, what Wike did to others, especially Rotimi Amici, by coming to Rivers unbearable for him, can also be done to him. Why? In as much as he claims that as governor, he made money, in as much as he's claiming that he has enough to sit on in the FCT as minister, there is somebody also on ground in Rivers who is also having access to such money now. And he's not just having access to such money, he is on ground. Wike cannot spend as much time in Rivers again as he's going to spend in Abuja. And the remote control you are going to use in Abuja cannot be as effective as that of somebody who is on ground and who has the wherewithal to also fight you, naira for naira. Because it's a matter of time for the man to now say, okay, I want to assert myself. and do the same things you did to others to you. That's where he needs to be careful. In a lot of states, this is how it starts, and the ruling party will lose out of power because somebody is not willing for there to be peace, for there to be somebody who is in control. What we've always known, and which Wike preached in his own time, has been that the governor is the leader of the party. But you are out and you still want to be the leader of the party from outside of the state. That's wrong. Even if you are going to humor the young man, please do so. Let him be in charge. You already nominated so many people into his government.
Commissioners,
Commissioners,
advisors, chief of staff.
all of that. You already have so many of your people in the government.
The local government
So what
chairman,
else do you want?
current local government chairman,
What else do you want?
by you.
You are talking about structure. If that structure collapses on the two of you today, then another party takes over. And then you are gone, all of you. You become politically irrelevant, like you have made others before you. So we should be careful. And I like the way the Niger Delta leaders couched their statement. Well, what they actually went to do to him was to warn him. If you read the entire statement that they issued, they did not go to pat him on the back. They went there to warn him, to stop that drift, that man is now the governor. Accord him some respect. Let him not get in the midst of the people he's supposed to govern and they say, this one a governor, whether they control from Abuja. Give him some honor. Humor him. Honor him. He's the governor. Let him be in charge. Or let him be seen to be seemingly in charge. Not somebody you can drag out at any point in time. Not somebody you can drag down. Not somebody you can call out easily.
And more so,
You know?
and more so, this is a total distraction
For
for the
man.
minister himself.
Even for him, yeah.
For him, he has been given a job to deliver in Abuja. The minister of FCT is not just a mere. There's so much work to be done in Abuja. The deplorable state of affairs, of infrastructure in Abuja is so terrible.
Very terrible.
The level of insecurity in Abuja is terrible. The roads are terrible. If you are moving from the airport to the city center at night, the lights are not working. Water. Kidnapping is going on in FCT now. Armed robbers are moving from estate to estate in Abuja. Abuja is not safe. You park your vehicle before you come out, they've stolen your vehicle.
Or broken into it.
Yes, or broken or smashed it. There's so much to be done in FCT, and which is why the president felt in his wisdom that there is a man that I think that can be able to fix this. And the president said it in one of the things that if I come to you to ask you for land, don't give me, or something like that. The fact is, so the minister should know that he has been given a responsibility. And good enough. At the retreat, the president just had with the minister, he has given every one of them, he has warned them, if you are not able to perform, I will get you sacked. And he has set up an indices that can be used to track the achievement of. I think the minister should just focus himself and allow Governor Fubara
shockingly, where I was expecting that to happen first was in Ebonyi State. But I'm not sure I've heard of anything
none.
between the Minister of Works and the man. That was where I was expecting it to happen. Because the governor is very particular. I mean, the former governor is very particular about.
Who is also a minister.
Yes, who is also a minister.
He's a
So
minister.
why don't you just take a cue from there and leave those people to run their affairs? Even when the issue came up of who was going to replace him in the Senate, we only had people talking. The man never said one word. I don't know if you have a place where you can quote him to have said, no, my brother must go and replace me in the Senate. Even if that is going to happen, he has not said anything. So why don't you just walk silently? Ensure that it's not by all this raising dust that your political structure will be intact. It's not.
Can he, days ahead, do you see him protecting or keeping that structure intact?
It will be difficult for him to keep the structure. Yeah, as I said earlier on. Yes, in as much as... do you know how powerful a governor is? When you're talking of powerful governors, we've had powerful governors in Rivers. Odili. We forgot Peter Odili. Even Amechi. Yeah. Amechi that was speaker, was Speaker of the House of Assembly. From there, became the chairman of Speakers Conference, rose up to become a governor, very powerful governor. AY, whoever becomes the governor of Rivers State has so much war chest in terms of cash to be able to do anything. And I'm telling you that anybody that see Rivers, see Akwa Ibom, in fact, most of the South states
add Delta to it.
That's why I say South states. Any of the, in terms of resources, they have more than enough. Wike has done it. If River was not making money, would he be able to perform most of the magic he has done? No. That is why I give it to somebody like the guy in Ebonyi you spoke about, Umahi. Umahi, the Ebonyi State receives one of the lowest federal allocation in the country. But you need to go to Ebonyi and see what that man did, especially in Abakaliki and so on. So he will not be able to. The fact is that he should be able to know how to manage. He's a politician. He should be able to know how to manage the governor so that they can work in harmony. If the Rivers State governor fails today, be able to deliver on the mandate that nobody is going to talk about Wike. They will say Governor Simi Fubara was unable to deliver, and that should be it.
And finally, all eyes are now on Saturday's governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. President Bola Tinubu has appealed to candidates participating in the November 11 governorship election, as well as electorates to ensure free and fair polls. It's going to be, when I think about Imo states.
What are you talking about? What's your problem? What is your problem?
Don't let Siki get angry. It might be a gunman or one of your known gunmen.
Event preceding the election will show that, look, it's going to be a keenly contested election. Even the factors there are just between the Labour Party and the APC, and as a matter of fact, the People's Democratic Party too. Now, I saw what was done to the Nigeria Labour Congress chairman. I saw it was bandaged and harassed, beaten to a pulp. I said, wow, this will just show you, what is to come in Imo States.
Well, like the president said, for me also,
a whole president of the Nigerian Labour Congress.
The key thing
beaten
is for security to be put in place for this election. And good enough, it's an off-cycle, off-season election, where you have only 3 states.
Yes.
With all the security.
So they should be able to concentrate.
We should be able to concentrate.
Attention on these 3 states.
In terms of what's happened to the Labour Congress president, I think I don't like it. I also don't support it, because for me, violence can never be the answer. But at some point, we've also got to sit down and ask, what really went wrong? Why did it happen? The local chapter says, we are comfortable with our governor. We don't want you to put us in another precarious position where we were before this man came, who started paying the minimum wage. Others before him did not pay it. He came in, started paying the minimum wage. If I'm wrong, CKN, because you are from that state, I know you've been following events keenly. And then did some reforms in the civil service and gave them what they felt was a good beginning. And then from the center, ostensibly because you are from that state, as the NLC president, you decided to dismantle the structure at the state level. That's looking for trouble, no matter how you look at it. is the kind of violence that they visit on us when those of us in the private sector refuse to join their strike. I'm sure you're glad, maybe your windscreen would have been broken once or twice when NLC goes on strike, and they say they are enforcing it, that we in the private sector who even subsidize their payment, we shouldn't go out. That's what happened to him. I don't support violence, and it shouldn't be the answer or solution to anything. But at some point, as Nigerians, we've got to sit down and look at what the issues are. Is the Labour Congress now a political party? If anything was going to be done to support the Labour Party in Imo State, because I like the courage of that candidate, Atam, the general. I like his courage. The Labour Party, as a party, should have been allowed to champion that cause. And not for the NLC to want to suppress its local chapter because of an interest. It's fine. Everybody is a political animal, but you don't do so in your capacity as the NLC president. You do so in your capacity as Joe Ajaero. There is a difference between the two, which must be demarcated very clearly.
Do you agree with Dotun? Because when the Labour president was beating blue-black, we've had a situation whereby Abiyuba Waba went to Kaduna State. Yes, he was threatened of arrest and everything, but nobody arrested him. And at the end of the day, we've never seen a state, you know, that the Labour people, the Labour Congress and the EXCO should go there. And this is a bad precedent.
It's quite unfortunate. Fortunately enough, I just came back from Imo State. I was in Imo State between Sunday and Thursday. I was there for 4 days this week. And I was invited to attend the retreat and conference of senior police officers in Nigeria, from the ranks of Commissioner of Police to the IGP. And we were there for the conference. And this thing happened during the period where we were on ground. Now, let me start from this. The right to protest has been guaranteed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. 1999 Constitution, Section 40 of that Constitution talked about these rights. And nobody can stop anybody from protesting. That case has been settled in the court, in the Supreme Court.
Up to Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, it has been settled. You don't need anybody's permission to protest in Nigeria as of today. You don't. If I want to protest, I carry placard from me, I go outside TVC and carry my placard. Nobody can stop me. The police cannot refuse that. What the law says is that the police should be able to provide security to make sure that it does not get violent. Now, that is for that. So the issue of whether NLC as president can, that is not, they have the right to do what they did. But what you ask, the timing, was the timing right? Those are the issues. I'm from Imo State, as I said. And I had so many stories while on ground. I'll just run quickly on that. The fact is that most Imolites believe that Ajaero is trying to play politics. Ajaero from Imo State. And most of them believe that most of what is happening is because of 2027 election, not just this one, where they think that Ajaero wants to come out to run for a governor. But as Dr. Riley said, and let me ask now, we're having an election just a few days. Why now? The question you need to ask yourself, is it only Imo State? Let us assume that the governor is not paying. Is it only Imo State that has not been paying salary? So why is that not taken to other states? I do not totally support the brutality that was meted out to the president of Ekiti. And I believe that the IGP should be able to investigate this and make sure that all those that were involved. But the fact is that we don't need to play politics when it comes to issues like this. The NLC have become an interested party in the issue, on the issue of politics in Imo State. Don't forget that NLC is also a party because there is a Labour Party, which is the party of the NLC. And most people are believing that this. So those are the issues of behind the Labour. But on the issue of volatility of security, the IGP makes a statement that anybody who wants to cause trouble in Imo State, Bayelsa, and Kogi should think twice. I was there. I watched him. I had my mic to his mouth when he was saying it. That they should be very, very careful. But even at that, some of the posters of the government, is it the post, the flex and the rest of the governor that was that was mounted right from the airport to the city centers have been destroyed.
Destroyed.
Totally. I saw this.
The sitting governor.
In Imo State.
Yeah.
Yes.
Destroyed.
In fact, it was so bad that we were laughing. Those of us, the journalists, were covering it. As we were going, we were lodged around Concord Hotel. When we were going to the conference center, we saw they create hole on some of those this thing. We saw them, some people coming back to patch it up. By the time we came back tomorrow morning,
destroyed.
But they have.
So that tells you what is happening.
So there are two things in this election, because we're not just Imo State. We are talking of Bayelsa, we are talking of Kogi. The fact is that, one, INEC must get it right, and also security must be tight.
Yeah.
All right. Joining us for more discussion on the issues is the Executive Director of the Center for Public Accountability, Olufemi Lawson. Femi, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
We are preparing for election as if we are going to war. What do you make of this situation in Imo State particularly, and even in Kogi State?
Well, for people who have followed the preparations for the off-cycle elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State, we realized that President Tinubu's statement a few days ago calls for serious concern. I have listened to your conversation, and I will want to say this. As somebody who has observed elections in Kogi, in Imo, and most particularly in Bayelsa State for at least 3 times, our concern, even as we speak, is more about Kogi and Bayelsa State. If anything has happened in Imo State, which is very unfortunate, it cannot yet be equated with the current political atmosphere in Kogi and Bayelsa State. I am not analyzing from the point of view in Lagos. I've spent at least the last 5 months between Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo preparatory to our observers training engagement for the election, because our organization will be observing the election in these states. But I can tell you that there are more fear in Bayelsa and Kogi State ahead of this election. What has happened in Imo is merely, what ordinarily should be avoidable. And I want to disagree a bit with Mr. Chris and Dr. that, for God's sake, there's no justification for violence, irrespective of who is involved. In actual fact, if Joe Ajero, as the president of the Labour Congress today, choose to throw his heart into the race, there's no justification for violence whatsoever. What happened in Imo, unfortunately, the struggle for the welfare of workers linked to the election is very unfortunate. But I think the fact that violence was unleashed on Mr. Joe Ajero has, of course, given, has ridiculed any form of justification that, political actors, particularly the state government, may have for his coming in or not. Joe Ajero is from that state. He has right to be in the state. Yeah, whether anybody likes it or not, there's no justification for owing any worker. And the fact that the governor came and is paying minimum wage and that, they are not what we should be celebrating as Nigerians. The governor is not doing anybody any favor by paying salaries of workers in Imo State. Back to Kogi and Bayelsa. For anyone who has followed the race for the governorship in Kogi, you come to agree that it has been more of a race that will likely be between the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and the Social Democratic Party, whose candidate is also a former national officer of the APC, and of course the PDP having Senator Dino Melaye. But the truth is that week in and out, over the last couple of months, there have been reported cases of violence, unlike Imo. There have been reported cases of violence against party supporters, against party structures, properties. In actual fact, as we speak, there are women who are all over the place protesting over the killing of a woman who was later discovered to be a member of the APC in Kogi State by a supporter of the major opposition candidate. In Bayelsa, just 3 days ago, a supporter of the PDP was also killed by people suspected to be members of the other party too. Only a few days ago, there was a video trending on the social media, and some TV stations were gracious enough to also show it. The deputy governorship candidate of a party was encouraging supporters to pursue and chase opponent or voters who are coming to vote for their opponent into the sea during elections. There are serious concerns, and that is why I want to take seriously the appeal by President Tinubu that this election must not only be seen to be free, it must be fair. But moving forward, I believe the president has a role to play beyond making that kind of beautiful statement. Why am I calling out President Tinubu? Unlike every other president we have had between 1999 and now, President Tinubu has a record of having participated in the struggle for democracy. President Tinubu knows and understands what it means to undergo a democratic process, unlike some of those who have been president in Nigeria between 1999 and now, of course, before he took over. And that is why the president must go beyond this kind of statement towards ensuring that we now have a duty to safeguard our democracy. Elections are practically becoming war. For candidates to encourage supporters to push opponents into the sea, for people to attack women because they have their support for particular candidate, for people to tear billboard of candidate who is even a serving governor, in the city, for candidates, for supporters of political parties to threaten violence because of the kind of encouragement they get from these candidates, cause for serious concern. And that is why we must call out President Tinubu to look at where he is coming from as somebody who is a product of the pro-democracy struggle, and look at how we can once and for all criminalize this culture of desperation and, of course, war in our elections.
Now, Femi, when you look at the, on the part of the Independent National Electoral Commission, their performance in the February presidential and National Assembly election, general election, so to say. So when you look at the way people, were kind of complained about, particular issues. Now, what do you expect from INEC in this off-season election just for 3 states?
INEC has a very huge moral responsibility to deliver free, fair, and credible election on November 11 in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State. But for somebody who has been actively involved in election activities in Nigeria, I want to state this clearly. If you even make Professor Mahmoud the state rec simultaneously in the 36 states or these 3 states where election be conducted all at the same time, the truth is that INEC alone cannot offer Nigerians any credible election without the cooperation of other stakeholders involved in the electoral process. In the electoral chain, you don't just have INEC, you have the security agencies, you have the political parties, you have the observers, the civil society, the media, that you, of course, you've been in a lot of states covering election in this country, and you know the role you have played, even in exposing some of the things that would have altered the outcome of our elections in Nigeria. So moving forward, INEC has a responsibility to redeem its image, especially when you look at the verdict of not only Nigerian people, local observers, and foreign observers over the last general election. The truth is that INEC did not perform creditably well as expected. During the last year, there were a lot of controversies that are attributed to the performance of INEC. While INEC is expected to redeem its image by ensuring that this election is not only credible, but ensure to be free and fair, and in terms of logistics, INEC is able to live up to expectation. Most importantly, we must call out every other stakeholders in the electoral chain, particularly the security agencies, to avoid compromising the integrity of the election by allowing desperate politicians and their thugs to overrun the electoral process. As we speak, only 2 days ago, a group of women in Bayelsa State came out to indict a unit of the police force for taking side with some group who are unleashing terror on some communities in Bayelsa State. In Kogi, there have been reports of a particular governorship candidate, to be precise, the SDP candidate, refusing invitation from the Commissioner of Police and Security Agencies, and nobody should be above the law. We must look at how we can ensure that every stakeholder in the electoral chain, the INEC doing its part, the security agencies doing their part, the media doing your part to expose these issues as they unravel, and of course, the civil society who are also observing this election playing their own part. That is the only way we can have a credible election. Not only when we have a sainthood of a commission called INEC or a perfect chairman or rep or returning officer. No, it has to do with the cooperation of every other person involved in the process, and that is the only way to have credible elections come November 11.
I want to thank you, Comrade Olufemi Lawson. Thank you for your contribution. Gentlemen, now we know this election is going to be monitored, obstacle election, just in 10 states. So the Inspector General of Police is meant to deploy all his men and everything.
And even the military.
And the conduct of the politicians, if they don't want to make the system work,
they won't.
No amount of organization you do.
I'm glad Femi mentioned it about the situation in Kogi State, where the SDP candidate, Social Democratic Party, Muritala Jaka, has been invited for a parley by both the police and Department of State Services, but he did not honor it.
Why?
Among all the candidates. All others went, he did not. And then I think Femi didn't hear me well when we spoke about what happened in Imo. Yeah. What we did was reporting, pure, that this was what happened between the local chapter of the NLC and the national. That's all we did report. And nobody supported the beating.
Yes. Yeah,
and we said it very clearly. There is no room for violence.
And I felt he wasn't listening.
Yeah, he was.
Because I quoted the sections of the Constitution where it was said that everybody has the right to protest. And that has been settled by Supreme Court.
It wasn't.
And also called on the Inspector General of Police to make sure that he fished out
everybody involved.
That was involved in the brutalization of brutalizing the NLC president. So there's no way we can justify what happened, and that is totally condemned. So Lawson probably wasn't listening. But the fact, as I said, it is now within INEC and security agencies to make sure that this election for Saturday is as free and fair, and making sure that every Nigerian, the people of Bayelsa, the people of Kogi State, as well as the people of Imo State, are able to come out to exercise their rights.
Because that's even the only way you can encourage people to come out. If you look at the 3 states in totality, during the general election, those who came out for the senatorial and House of Assembly elections, they weren't up to half of those who actually got their permanent voter cards. It's a different thing from registration. You add registration, and then you add add people who actually came out to collect. They weren't up to half. And that's dangerous for our election. It's dangerous for our democracy. We must be able to guarantee the safety of people. That's the only way you can bring them out to vote. If I know going to a polling station is going to endanger my life, then I won't leave my house because it's not worth it.
I want to thank you, Dr. Oladipo and Chris Kendi.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And that's our offering on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for a regular episode of Journalist Hangout by 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozuba.
Business lives on the fast track of numbers. Business is a strange world where low numbers means something different. And its currency are speed and time. Finding the open doors of Main Street is not just good business, it's the start of the business. Join us every weekend on Business Week.
Albert Chinua Lumogu Achebe was born November 16, 1930 in Ogidi, Nigeria. He went to Government College in Umuahia, Nigeria. In 1948, Achebe won a scholarship to the University of Ibadan to study medicine, but after a year, he changed his major to writing. After graduation in 1953, he became a script writer for the Nigerian Broadcasting Service (NBS), eventually becoming the head programmer for the discussion series. In 1956, he visited London for the first time to take a training course with the BBC. On returning, he moved to Enugu and edited and produced stories for the NBS. Achebe was unhappy with books about Africa written by British authors such as Joseph Conrad and John Buchan because he felt the descriptions of African people were inaccurate and insulting. In his spare time, he worked on Things Fall Apart. The novel was published in 1958. The book won immediate international recognition and also became the basis for a play. His second book, No Longer at Ease, published in 1960, is set in the last decade before Nigeria achieved independence. In 1961, Chinua Achebe met and married Christiana Chinwe Okoli, and they eventually had 4 children. The third book in the African trilogy, Arrow of God, was published in 1964. Achebe published his fourth novel, A Man of the People, in 1966. The novel tells the story of the widespread corruption of Nigerian politicians and ends in a military coup. During the Biafra conflict, Achebe's house was bombed and his friend Christopher Okimu was killed. Achebe and his family went into hiding in Biafra and then fled to Britain for the duration of the war. From 1972 to 1976, Achebe held a visiting professorship in African literature at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. After that, he returned again to teach at the University of Nigeria. He became chair of the Association of Nigerian Writers and edited Uwandi Igbo, a journal of Igbo life and culture. Although he wrote many essays and kept involved with the writing community, Achebe did not write another book until 1988's Anthills of the Savannah. In 1990, Achebe was involved in a car crash in Nigeria, which damaged his spine so badly he was paralyzed from the waist down. Bard College in New York offered him a teaching job and the facilities to make that possible, and he taught there from 1991 to 2009. In 2009, Achebe became a professor of African Studies at Brown University. In 2012, he published the essay, There Was a Country, a personal history of Biafra. Achebe won the Man Booker International Prize for his life's work in 2007 and received more than 30 honorary doctorates. He remained critical of the corruption of Nigerian politicians, condemning those that stole or squandered the nation's oil reserves. In addition to his own literary success, he was a passionate and active supporter of African writers. However, Achebe died in Boston, Massachusetts on March 21, 2013 after a brief illness. He is credited with changing the face of world literature by presenting the effects of European colonization from the point of view of Africans. He specifically wrote in English, a choice that received some criticism, but his intent was to speak to